Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Homecoming Weekend 2020. My name is Tom Flemma, and I am the head of school at North Shore Country Day. And welcome to the strangest homecoming in the history of our school. I'm coming to you live from the auditorium on campus here in Winnetka. It is a bit of a gray, rainy fall day, but the spirit is high. And I'm excited to share with you a little bit of news from campus, and then do a little bit of an overview of the year that we've been going through. We'll hear from some students, and then we'll have the annual Stanton recognition. It's a real pleasure to welcome you here today to this presentation. We have alumni, former faculty and staff, current parents, and parents of alumni who are tuning in from all over the world today. We wish that you could all be here with us in person, but in the spirit of Raider creativity, we are going to make this the best homecoming virtually that the school has ever had. So whether you're joining us from Winnetka or Chicago or from around the world, please know that while we can't be together with you today, we're together in spirit because the connections of Raider Nation are strong. And while we're here and you alumni and parents might be watching, we also have some smaller socially distanced homecoming events that are happening outside right now on campus. If you were here, you would see purple and white decorations everywhere. You would see the lower schoolers and the middle schoolers who are just completing a socially distanced fun run outside. And we have teams competing this weekend, our fall teams, including girls tennis, cross country, and golf. There's a scrimmage later for boys soccer. The field hockey Little Raiders clinic for our lower schoolers is just over. So even though we don't have a regular homecoming for the students on campus this year, we've still got a lot of activity. And I'll tell you a little bit more about it. What you see up here on the screen is also an activity that the lower schoolers did yesterday. And they helped cover the sidewalk outside the lower school in the auditorium in beautiful artwork, celebrating homecoming and celebrating our athletes. And it's really a beautiful sight. I'll hopefully have a chance to send some pictures out via social media. So I usually take some time here at this homecoming gathering to give you a bit of a school update. And this one's going to sound a little bit different because COVID-19 as a topic is going to crowd out maybe some of the other topics that I would usually mention. But I want to just assure you as we get started that even though COVID consumes much of our mind, our primary focus after the health and safety of our community, of course, is still maintaining those elements of a North Shore education that have always defined this place. As such, it's the academics and arts, athletics, service, and community that remain the threads that hold us together. So here's a little bit of my plan for this morning. I'm only going to speak for maybe about 15 minutes because it's going to be much more valuable for you to hear from our students than it is to hear from me. But I'll give you just a quick snapshot of where we are this year. We'll talk very briefly about the centennial year that we finished last year, which feels like it was 100 years ago, actually. We'll reflect a little bit on the COVID spring and our distance learning program, and then I'll update you of how things are going here on campus today. So we are at a student body total this year of 530 students. We are incredibly glad and excited to have every one of them on campus. And we are particularly glad that even with all of the turmoil around schools this year, that we were, through the hard work of the admissions office, able to maintain that number, which is near our historic high and right around where we were last year. I don't think that it's an accident that we've been able to keep our numbers high. I think the positive reviews of our work in the spring and just of things that are going on campus have really helped in terms of word of mouth. Also the fact, as you see up here, that we have students from 37 different zip codes, I think is pretty remarkable. And it tells you what the scope of our geographic distribution is. and how important that is for our school and our student body. Of those 530 students, 20% of them attend North Shore with some sort of financial assistance, which is very important to us as a school community and to me. We've always provided financial assistance to students. In fact, founding headmaster Perry Dunlap Smith told the founding families that he would not accept the position unless we provided assistance to students who wanted to attend the school. This year, we've been able to offer $2.5 million in financial support to students and families. And that, frankly, could never happen without your support and the support of generations of North Shore friends and alumni. This is a little bit hard to see. I hope you might have a sense, but this is not for this current school year. I didn't have the data for this year, but from last year, this is a geographic distribution of where our students are coming from. So as you can see on the map, the dots show what towns and what areas people are joining us from. It's quite a widespread. And then on the right-hand side, you see in descending order the communities where our students are joining us from. So Winnetka obviously is our highest number, and then Wilmette, Evanston, Glencoe, Chicago proper, and on down. But I think it's a really interesting snapshot of who we have in the classroom every day. We also have 99 new students this year. And here's just a few little interesting tidbits that we share at the beginning of every school year about those students. Just for you to kind of get a sense. This year has been particularly important for us to try to welcome those new students into the community. This is something that we do really well usually because we are small and because we try to build community so intentionally. This year with social distancing, with masks, it's a little bit harder. So we've been working really hard and our students have been doing a wonderful job of welcoming new students to the school and new families to the school. And that's a really high priority, as you can imagine. Just a few quick shots of a preview of things to come about how school looks this fall. And it seems like it was a really long time ago, but as you probably remember, it was last year that we celebrated our centennial. We had an entire year worth of events and celebrations, gatherings, parties here in Winnetka, in downtown Chicago, and all over the country, really. It was a really wonderful year, and we feel very lucky that we were able to complete probably about 90% of what we had planned for our centennial celebration before the COVID outbreak and before we need to shut down for the spring. Some of the highlights from the year obviously were the Centennial Homecoming. So many alumni and parents of alumni and friends and former teachers came to join our students for a wonderful weekend. The weather was a little chilly, kind of like it is out today, but we had a huge number of people. We had meals and tents and songs and just a lot of activity to go along with our full slate of athletic competition, and we had a wonderful time. And then, of course, last year in the winter time, in February, we were very glad and very lucky that our Centennial Benefit was able to happen as planned. It was an absolutely wonderful event downtown at the United Center. Here's just a couple of pictures, including the Jordan statue with our North Shore Raiders jersey on it. But we had almost 450 Raiders from multiple generations who joined us to celebrate 100 years of transformative education. And just some of the other things that we were able to do. The students who you'll hear from are, in a few minutes are somewhere in this 100 picture that we took out on the field. And that picture, which is not showing up on the right-hand side there, is a picture of our Centennial history book. So if you haven't had a chance to see that, or you'd like to order a copy of the Centennial history book, there is a link to that on the homecoming page. It's a wonderful coffee table book that we wrote just for this occasion with historic photographs and stories, and tell us sort of the sweep and scope of the whole history of our school. So as we worked our way through the year, we were happy, we were tired, we were busy as we did regular school along with the Centennial. And then the world changed for all of us in the first couple of weeks of March. So we saw what was coming. We had no idea what the scope was going to be, but we started preparing as a faculty in the middle of February. And what that looked like was a few different things. First, we switched all of our faculty meeting time to prepare and to refresh our teachers for what remote learning would need to look like. For most of you, by February, you probably had no idea what the term remote learning even meant. Now, obviously, the entire world knows what remote learning means. We started working with our teachers in February to make sure that they were up to speed on what they would need to do if we thought we had to transition to a remote program. That also meant that we needed to help our teachers refresh some of their technology training, their iPad use, laptops, learning management systems, and new technology to most of us, things like Zoom, which was not a regular part of our days, and which now generations of students are going to. Finally, we spent time in February before spring break trying to gauge the needs of our community, and that was something that was very important to us all along. And the first step for that was to identify with our students and families what the technology needs might be should we move to a remote program, as it looked like things were going. So we tried to gauge who had access to iPads, laptops, and strong internet access just in case. So we were ready when we did have to shift into remote learning to do that. And then as it turns out, in March, as the full scope of what was going on became apparent, we closed school one day early. We left for spring break one day early. It was fortuitous for us in many ways that our teachers had the chance to spend time over their vacation to prepare to shift to remote learning. And we didn't know what that would look like or how long it was going to go. No one had any idea at that point. But we did have a few things that we knew we wanted to accomplish with any remote learning program. And on the left, you basically see kind of what our mission statement was for remote learning. Quality academic program and connection. And if there's anything that we've learned from all of this, it is how important connection is and how well that plays to our strengths as a school in terms of our belief in connected learning. So many of you as alums speak about the relationships that you had with your teachers, the relationships that you had with your friends. Those are the things that provide the container for effective learning to happen. And that is something that we prioritized, and it's a theme that you'll hear as we talk about what's going on this fall. We were also lucky as we began to stretch our remote learning program through the entire spring to have a network of schools, a network of relationships with other teachers and institutions that helped us find very quickly best practice for the things that we were doing. And I know one of the opportunities that we'll have once the student panel comes up is they'll be able to tell you what their experience was like, what was good, what was bad, what was easy for them in remote learning, and what was hard. But we did have a lot of success. And that is in so many ways due to the hard work of North Shore teachers and administrators and staff who just gave everything they had to try to create the continuity of learning over the course of that spring semester. And from all reports, especially compared to many other schools that didn't perhaps have the resources or the relationships that we had, our remote learning program was very strong, and we got great reviews from students and families along the way. I'm not going to go deeply into this. There were some examples. Here's what a lower school morning schedule might look like for some of our kids. As you can imagine, remote learning for our youngest graders was the hardest part. Those of you who are parents and with little kids know that that's the case. And here's a photo of Mrs. K, our longtime lower school music teacher, who was front and center as the arts were as much as we could. We wanted to make sure that the arts were still important in our work. We also, and in that theme, this is an example of both how a Zoom classroom might have looked, but this particular picture that you see up here is from our spring performance of what we call the Take 10 plays that are student written and directed plays. Our students were able to pivot and offer their plays in a Zoom setting, and their creativity and their flexibility and resilience was really inspiring, and they did a great job. And that was the case all through the spring, where our kids rallied and did a fantastic job with remote learning in an incredibly difficult situation. So as you can imagine, we've spent all summer then trying to figure out what comes next. And I'm gonna just very briefly mention for folks who aren't on campus, we are incredibly proud and feel incredibly blessed that we are open for business. And it doesn't look the same. School's not gonna look the same for quite a long time, but we have a model right now where we have lower and middle schoolers on campus every morning, and we have upper schoolers on campus every afternoon. And that was one of our real design principles, because we wanted to make sure that our classwork continued, we wanted to make sure that our students in particular had the opportunity to be connected to each other for social and mental health reasons. We know how important those connections are. And we wanted to provide structure for students and parents. So we chose not to rotate weeks or rotate days to have it be choppy for kids. We're finding now that, or what we've done is we have kids on campus every day. The students will be happy, I'm sure, to answer questions about how it is working. I'll be really excited to hear what they have to say. Of course, it was only possible because we felt that we could do opening school safely. And why could we do that? A couple of reasons. One is we have a beautiful campus, and not only a campus that's beautiful, but one that is modern and that has up-to-date facilities. Things like our HVAC systems, which are as high quality as they could get. We have the space where we can spread classes out for them to be socially distanced. All of those things are a result of decades and generations of work that all of our extended Raider family have helped to create this beautiful campus. And you've created a safe campus for kids to be back in school. We have all kinds of health and safety protocols. You don't need to hear about that from me. We are using outdoor classroom spaces. We are so lucky to have the land that we have, and we have a number of tents. It's just starting to get cold, so we'll see how long that's going to last. It's so far, it's working really well, and the students, I hope, will share some of their reflections on what's working and what's not. I'm going to show just a few examples. As you'll see in all of these pictures, our students, our teachers, our staff, every human who is on this campus is wearing a mask. The exception right now being me, because I'm speaking to you in an auditorium that's huge with only a few people. But we're being really diligent about the masks, and I'm very proud to report that our students have been fantastic in their ability to follow that rule, to protect each other. And I hope you would expect nothing less, because our students care about each other and they care about the world around them. So following the mask rule for them may not be fun, but they have been great. That's true even of our little people, who are even more resilient than I had ever imagined, and they are getting the job done. Our middle schoolers are in a whole new building. Our middle school, because of our half day, are using the upper school building, which they've never done before, and they have adapted remarkably well as well to a lot of change. Upper schoolers are using their outdoor space as much as they can. They have a lot more freedom than our younger divisions, and they can move around and at least get outside to socialize a little bit more. And we have enough space in our classrooms that we can have room for everybody. One of the things that we're especially proud of this fall is that our athletic program has been up and running, following a pretty Byzantine set of rules that the state of Illinois has put in. Not all of our fall teams are competing or practicing, but we have girls tennis and golf and cross country that are competing. And then as you see here, there are other sports that have contact, what are called contact days, and they're practicing over the course of the fall. So field hockey, volleyball, baseball, soccer, other sports are still able to gather. The field hockey team just finished their Little Raiders field hockey clinic with the young kids about half an hour ago. Middle school athletics is running as well, and we have a huge number of middle school athletes. This is also important because the kids need to be outside, they need to be interacting with each other, they need to be fit, they need fresh air. It's been going really well. The next seasons are going to start coming soon, and each will present its own set of logistical challenges, but we are dedicated to keeping the athletic program as vibrant as we can in this context. And as you can imagine, the arts continue to be central to what we do, both the visual arts and the performing arts. We have a fall arts festival that's coming up I think it's next week. Is that right, next week? Within the next week, where we'll see from the instrumental ensemble and from the theater students and from the chorus. So our teachers have been working really hard with the kids as well. This is just a great example here of trying to keep community rolling. This is a picture of our buddy day from last week. Many of the students you'll hear from, actually you're all seniors. Seniors met with their kindergarten buddies last week, and it was a little bit different. Normally the little kids would have probably been crawling all over you all, but we were at least able to start building that buddy relationship, which is so important to us all. So as you can imagine, it has been a ton of work, and I just want to say again, even though I mentioned it before, our teachers are the frontline heroes here for us at North Shore. They have a lot of anxiety, as you can imagine, about being in school, and yet they're here because they love what they do and they love their students. So when you see some of these teachers around, give them a thank you. Don't give them a pat on the back. That probably wouldn't be a good idea right now, but let them know how important their work is, because we all really, really appreciate it. It has been a summer and a fall like we've never seen on campus, but it is working because of the teamwork across all kinds of parts of the school. So with that, I'm going to stop, and I'm going to invite a group of students up to the stage. And if you'll give us just one moment, we're going to set up their chairs, get their microphones and their gloves ready. They're going to be led by Lindsay Wolin-Casey, who's the assistant head of the upper school and an upper school French teacher. Hi, everybody. Your name is on your chair. Thanks so much.
Hello, everyone. As Tom said, my name is Lindsay Wallen Casey. This is actually my 24th year at North Shore Country Day School. And as I was thinking about that, what really struck me was in addition to loving the school and really being committed to the mission, the thing that has kept me here for 24 years is really teaching the types of students that you're going to hear from today. Our students are involved and eager and so willing to take risks and move beyond their comfort zones. And so to hear from them and what they've experienced in their time at North Shore pre-COVID, and then we're also going to talk a little bit about how that shifted and what that looks like in these unprecedented times. So I'm going to have them introduce themselves first, and then I have a few questions for them. So why don't you go ahead and start, Zinzi, down there, and we'll come this way.
Hi, I'm Zinzi Steele. This is my 14th year at North Shore, and I'm a senior.
And actually, Zinzi, if you could say a few things that you've been involved in over the years, each one of you, if you could do that, that would be wonderful.
And I play field hockey and soccer, and I run a club called Amnesty International and Students Against Racism.
Hi, I'm Lola Davey. I've been here since 6th grade, and I've been a part of our musicals and our plays, and I've also been on some of our sports teams like the volleyball team, track team, and basketball. I also lead the Louder Than a Bomb Club. It's a slam poetry club, as well as Pillows, an open mic night, and the BSU, our Black Student Alliance.
Hi, my name is Jane Scullion. I've been here since 5th grade. At school, I'm involved in the field hockey, basketball, and soccer teams, and I'm also a part of the Model UN team.
Hi, I'm Gavin Schneider. This is my 4th year at North Shore, and I'm part of the golf team and the track and field team. I'm part of a few clubs. I lead Car Club, Investment Club, and Junior State of America. And yeah.
Hi, I'm Kai Barrett Bennett. This is my 4th year at North Shore. I've played soccer my whole time here. This year and the past year, I'm an editor on the school's yearbook, and I am a student mentor in the freshman advisors.
Great, thanks so much for that. I think one of the things that Dr. Flemma alluded to when he was talking about the fall was sort of what fall is normally like for us and what it's been like this year. And can you give some insights about how it has sort of been different, but how it's remained the same? What has this fall been like for all of you? And sort of how is what is core to North Shore still there or not? Like, what do you see as some of the similarities and differences? Yeah, okay, you can start, Kyle.
One thing for me has been that my whole time here at North Shore, as a freshman and a sophomore, the upperclassmen were always really intentional about reaching out and making you feel like part of the community. And I was afraid that going into my senior year that this would be something missing from the experience and that I wouldn't be able to reach out in the same ways or at the same level as I had experienced. And I found, thankfully, that I've been wrong, kind of through with what the school has done, organizing contact days, and even within the team, being able to keep practicing outside of school and that's really allowed me to continue to reach out to some of the younger kids and get to know them and really encourage them to be a bigger part of the community.
For me, kind of a major part of the fall is the excitement and like build up to getting to start school again. And a lot of that comes from preseason and sports. And I think although it looks different this year, we're still given an opportunity to have some kind of like athletic preseason events to go to, and there we were able to still like build connections and meet new people and kind of get that excitement and anticipation for the new school year. And I was still able to like have the same excited feeling when I came to the first day of school. And I think that was really important to me, to get to still build those connections and meet new people before we got to school.
I think that within the classroom that there's been like a lot of preserving of what I was able to experience before COVID. And like something that I really valued was the connections with teachers I was able to have. And although a lot of like the between periods in classes was removed, the teachers that I do have, I'm able to speak with in informal conversation. I think the thing that's missing now the most is that I don't have things like CWP, where I used to be able to catch up with my teachers from last year. But luckily, I feel like as time has gone on, and especially this past week, I realized that like the teachers I was seeing in the hallway, by just saying hello and like being like, oh, Dr. R, I haven't seen you in so long, I've been able to like regain this experience that I really valued last year.
Yeah, I also agree with what everyone has said. I think that one of the great ways that North Shore, that I've been able to kind of be part of the North Shore community and how that's kind of continued even with COVID, is by participating in events that North Shore has continued, like Buddy Day. Just yesterday I went to a varsity tennis match, and I think that even though we're socially distanced, I'm still able to be part of the North Shore homecoming activities that I really enjoy. And I think that a lot of that has continued, and I think that's been really great.
I think one of my favorite parts of North Shore pre-COVID during fall was always the fall play and doing that with my friends. And I was worried this year about how it was going to happen, but North Shore yet again was able to find a way to do it. And we've been practicing outside and socially distanced, and I was worried all the fun would be out of it and I wouldn't get to talk to my friends, but we've been able to do it. And I think that's something that's interesting about North Shore, especially right now. Even with all these traditions that have been canceled, we're still finding new ways of doing everything and efficient ways of doing everything.
All right. Along those lines, as you've talked about activities and connections with teachers, can you talk a little bit about the academic experience? Because I know it's pretty different from sort of pre-COVID to now. But can you talk even a little bit more about what's really working and how we've sort of adapted to this and how you've adapted as students as well?
Yeah, so I think that one really great thing about North Shore overall through the years is that they've let me pursue my interest by letting me pick classes that I'm really interested in. And I think that the North Shore teachers have been supportive all the way through my years at North Shore. They're really passionate about their subject and about teaching overall. And I think that this year, even though, as Jane mentioned, there's no CWP, the North Shore teachers are still very reachable and available through Zoom meetings before school. I think that like the academic programs have continued. I think that the classes, even though we're socially distanced and wearing masks, they're really the same, and it feels very similar, even though it's different this year.
Yeah, and another thing, I think we've been able to maintain the same sense of like rigor in our classes, and even though we have less time in class, we still are able to make the most of that and still able to collaborate in a safe and socially distant way. And I think the addition of the asynchronous block and the asynchronous work has been really helpful to make up for the time that we might be losing in class and to be able to keep us all doing our best work and growing as students.
Kind of building on what Zinzi just said, I've been really impressed in kind of in my peers and my students and their ability to maintain focus on the academics and what needs to be still done. I thought it would be really easy to kind of lose engagement or be distracted this year with all the changes and things being a lot more difficult. But I've been really impressed by just the like I said, level of engagement and effort put in by both students and teachers to be understanding of the situation and to continue to put forward our best efforts. And so I think that's a great reflection of the types of students who go here and the staff that are employed.
Adding on to what Kai said, even though we have to go into every class wiping down our desks every time and socially distant, I feel like there's several moments in class where I even forget that we're in COVID-19 or we're in this pandemic, just because of the way it feels like we're back to normal again. We're like sitting down in classes, we're participating, and everyone tries to have a good attitude. And I think it's important to have spaces like this, especially right now where things can feel normal again, because it's been so different for the past several months.
I think that I can speak on something that's a little bit different than in-person classes right now, because this past week I actually had a cold, and I had to Zoom into my classes, which was an interesting experience, and I was able to preserve the classroom setting, even though I was in a separate room than all of my peers, and I thought that was really interesting. I was sitting in my bedroom, and my teachers were still turning to me when they were teaching the class and asking me, "Jane, do you have any questions?" And although it's not ideal that I had to Zoom in for a day, I realized that I was really grateful that I was able to do that, and I'm sure that all of the families who are high risk are also really appreciative that they're able to maintain their safety while also preserving their school experience.
Thank you so much for that, all of you. I think I would also like you to think about your time at North Shore. So not just now, but your time at North Shore, and think about and talk about one of the experiences or events that had the most impact on you. I mean, when I think about interim, which is a signature program, that might be something for some of you. For another, it might be a course where you could really explore your passion and delve deeply. But could you talk about something along those lines and its impact on you?
Something I think the most notable thing that I'm realizing had the most impact on me right now throughout my North Shore experience is probably the JK Senior Buddy Program. This past week we got our buddies, and I really had been so excited for the past month, thinking about getting to know my JK buddy. And although it's going to look different this year, I know that that's a connection that we're going to build and a connection that's going to maintain for years to come. And thinking back when I was the day that I was going to meet my buddy, I was remembering how my JK and SK buddies, we've reached out to each other as in middle school and when I was in middle school and as we were getting older, and still those are connections that I'm able to keep. And sometimes we bump into each other, and it's it's amazing to get to see someone who was such a presence and such a role model for me when I was in JK. And it's amazing to still see those people and remember those connections that we had. And I know that I'm extremely excited to get to do that for someone this year.
I could probably go on for hours about the sports teams and how much I loved my experience on them, but something this year that stands out to me as being super valuable is that they introduced AP US Government class this year. That's actually new, so the teacher hasn't taught it for a bit at least, but this year it's been really interesting with the elections and the current political climate to have a place where I get to learn about the ins and outs of what's going on in the world in a more technical way, while also unpacking things that are going on in the world. And I guess beginning to engage more with our society and the politics that are going on in it, and growing into a more involved citizen, I guess.
I think the most impactful event I've done at North Shore was probably interim 2 years ago when I went to Saint-Malo, France. And so I went with a couple of students and two teachers, and we got to explore this tiny village in the middle of France that was so different from America. And we got to explore their school and compare it to North Shore. And it's just really interesting to have the opportunity to have such an interesting experience. And I got to stay with a family who only spoke French. and I had to immerse myself in the language and speak it along with them. And it was just really cool to see the cultural differences, and I was very thankful to have that opportunity.
One of the most impactful experiences for me was my interim last year, where I went to the Dominican Republic. I had to speak a lot of Spanish there because that's the language that most people spoke, and some people didn't speak any English at all. I also got to learn a lot about their culture, and I got to learn a lot about marine biology and other types of kind of ocean science that I was interested in. And I think it was a really great experience.
For me, the most impactful point of my North Shore career so far was last year on the soccer team. We had a historical run to the Illinois State tournament. And at the beginning of the season, I think if you had talked to any of us on the team, and especially me, to even get past the sectional round of the playoffs would have been a great season and a great way to end. But pushing past that and having different points in the season where we had to overcome obstacles and really build on each other to accomplish a goal that even we weren't sure we could get to at certain points, really taught me a lot about myself and some of my teammates. So I'm really thankful for that.
Great, thank you. I wasn't sure if anyone had sent in questions for our panelists, so I was just going to ask out that way. No? Do you know?
No.
Okay. Then I think I have sort of one more question, unless you have things that you really want to share with everyone. But core to who we are is that students are known. And I think a little bit like Kai talked about, it's both known, by students who are older than you are and making those connections among students, and also known by your teachers and other adults in the community. So can you talk a little bit about a time when you really felt known and the impact that had on you, or where really that you reached out to know someone else because of how our community is formed and how important that piece is?
I think for me, the event that stands out the most to me is freshman year. Like, we showed up to preseason at field hockey, and I think at many schools, it would be very easy to be scared or intimidated by the seniors and the upperclassmen. And I think I've never felt so welcomed or so included in a community like I did then. And I think that continued on through the rest of the school year, where I'd have people in all grades saying hi to me in the hallway or inviting me to something to socialize or hang out even just in the V. And I think to gain the experience of having people through all grades and at this school, know who you are and say hi to you, I think that's something that I will always value through the rest of my life.
Sorry.
You can go.
Okay. For me, I recently had an experience with an English teacher of mine, Mr. Grossman, who recently when the Breonna Taylor case, the verdict was given and the officers weren't charged with murder. And this was something that it was on my mind, and it took a lot of emotional processing for me. And that same evening, Mr. Grossman reached out to me and kind of just asked me how I was doing, what my feelings were around it, and just wanted to tell me that even if he didn't know what to say, he cared, and he knew that I might be experiencing it a different way than he was. And for me, it really meant a lot to me, because I didn't even know exactly how to respond, but I was just really appreciative that he was even thinking about me or thinking about something like that in a time like this. And it, like I said, it just meant a lot to me.
I think the time that I felt most known at North Shore was probably freshman year during our musical. We were doing Music Man, and from the moment we auditioned, where everyone was nervous and bubbly and telling each other, "Oh, good luck, you've got this," to the actual performance itself, I'd felt so seen and noticed. I got to play Mrs. Peru in the show, and all of the seniors and juniors were so supportive. And I know in lots of other schools, the theater is very competitive and people are super mean to each other, but here everyone was so encouraging and telling each other, "You've got this," and whether you forgot your lines, someone would help you remember them, or if you were doing a dance and you forgot the steps, they'd be like, "Oh, you're supposed to do it this way." And they were all so nice and kind, and even in the halls, when we weren't in theater practice, you'd see everyone saying hi and giving each other high fives and talking about how excited they were for the show, and it just felt like a whole warm community. Yeah.
I think a time that I felt really known at North Shore, similarly to what Lola and Zinzi said, was in freshman year. I only knew one other kid coming into North Shore, so I really didn't know anybody. And the seniors and juniors on the golf team during preseason, they made me feel very welcome, but also in the freshman advisories, the senior and junior mentors, they really got to know me, and they made me feel like I was part of the North Shore community. And I feel that as I've gotten older, as a senior, I've been able to kind of help freshmen and make them feel included on the golf team, but also as a mentor, I've helped freshmen, I've answered any questions they have, and done my best to help them feel welcome here.
Just yesterday, I was sitting in the V with my sophomore year chemistry teacher. Zinzi and Lola were actually both there as well. But I think that's something that speaks to the lengths that our teachers connect with us and know us, is that for the entire block, whether we were supposed to be or not, we just were chatting and catching up after not talking to each other for so many months. And even if I didn't get my math homework done, I think that that's a lot more valuable. And I can always do that tomorrow. But my teacher and I were able to make conversation for like a full 55 minutes, which I think shows to how much we're able to find in common with our teachers and how much our teachers care about talking to us and getting to know us.
Thank you. Dr. Fleming, do you have any other questions that you'd like to ask for the panel, or are we?
I think they nailed it. I'm good.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And
Thank you.
excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much. Great job. I'll take that trash can right out of the lobby. Have a great weekend. Thank you, Madame and Casey. Thank you to our students. We can take this off, I think. That right there, that is why we are all here. Every time I hear our students speak, I just have so much pride in who they are as students, who they are as humans, and I know so much of just how amazing they are as a result of the work of the faculty and staff here. So I am just incredibly proud of them and so grateful to that they took some time on a Saturday morning to come and speak to all of us. So we are rounding into the last part of our presentation here, and that is to begin the Francis R. Stanton Class of 27 Alumni Recognition. And I want to give you a little bit of background on who Francis Stanton was. So, excuse me. The motto of North Shore Country Day, as most of you know, is live and serve. And Francis Stanton, Class of 27, was a man who embodied its spirit and for whom this recognition is named. North Shore opened its doors in September 1919. And Franny Stanton was a student in the 5th grade. His brother was in the class of 1925. Both of his sons are North Shore alumni. Francis Stanton graduated from Yale and the Yale School of Architecture, and among his many gifts to the North Shore Country Day School was the gift of teaching 6 years of courses in architecture, coaching the boys tennis team for 8 years, girls for 5 years with great distinction. He was a member of our board of directors for many years, and he served 2 separate terms as president. He also served as president of the Alumni Association and directed alumni annual giving, quintupling the participation and dollars in his time. He also served as a trustee of the foundation board, which is entrusted with North Shore's endowment funds. Because of all of that work, each year the Alumni Association Board presents the Francis R. Stanton Alumni Recognition to an alumnus or alumna whose life work exemplifies the school's motto of live and serve. All members of the North Shore Country Day School community are invited to identify candidates for this award. The Stanton Recognition recipient is selected based on lifetime commitment and dedication to his or her profession, community service, or a combination of volunteer and professional activities. And now to introduce this year's Stanton Recognition Award winner, I'd like to introduce Nancy Whiteman.
Greetings, fellow Raiders, alumni, parents of alumni, and former faculty and staff. We're happy to have you here and to hear about this year's recipient of the Stanton Recognition, who, as Tom mentioned, is Karen Spencer Kelly, class of 1976. And I'm honored to be able to read the citation that you will learn a lot about her. She's a very busy woman. After graduation from North Shore Country Day in 1976, Karen attended Harvard Radcliffe College and continued on to receive her JD from Villanova University School of Law. She's had a very accomplished and well-recognized career as a lawyer and dedicated volunteer. Karen formed her own firm in 1993, where she specialized in civil litigation at both the trial and appellate levels for approximately 20 years. She then developed a municipal finance practice, serving as co-bond counsel, underwriters counsel, and co-special disclosure counsel in bond issuances involving the city of Philadelphia and its agencies. In 2009, she was appointed chief counsel by the Pennsylvania Treasurer. Karen served as head attorney and counselor for the Treasury Department, advising the treasurer, chief of staff, and senior staff on legal matters. In addition, she served as senior advisor to the treasurer on policy and administrative issues, as well as final editor of all written materials generated by the executive office. After her government service, Karen returned to her firm to represent select clients. In 2017, she formed Kesk Consulting, LLC, a firm that specializes in the subject of diversity. The firm provides diversity auditing services, monitors and evaluates minority, female, and disadvantaged participation in government contracts. The firm also provides training for nonprofits, government entities, and corporate clients, counseling and advising private clients with diversity concerns in exit situations, and produces continuing legal education courses in diversity. Karen's life has been one of committed service to others and a proponent of education. She's devoted the majority of her volunteer time supporting educational institutions. She served on at least one alumni committee for Harvard each year since her graduation in 1980. This service culminated in her being elected the first female African-American president of the worldwide Harvard Alumni Association in 2001. She has received the Radcliffe Distinguished Service Award and served as a Radcliffe College trustee. Karen is a former member of the board of directors of Chestnut Hill College and served as a mentor for female students at Harvard and Radcliffe Colleges, Chestnut Hill College, and Villanova University School of Law. The list of her volunteer commitments is extensive, serving in leadership and fundraising roles for the boards for her alma maters, While a working mother, she co-chaired the parent community at the William Penn Charter School and also served on the executive committee at her children's school. Additionally, Karen has served on the boards of the Philadelphia Arts and Education Partnership, Advisory Board of Prevent Child Abuse Pennsylvania, the Advisory Board of the Lorraine Beitler Collection at the University of Pennsylvania, and Eastern Pennsylvania chapter of the Arthritis Foundation. Currently, she is a member of the Board of Directors of the Harvard Alumni Association, a member of the Forum of Executive Women, a senior advisor at eConsult Solutions, a member of the Board for Directors of Community Assistance Friends Enterprise, a member of the Board of Directors of the Friends of Laurel Hill and West Laurel Hill, also a member of the Board of Directors of the Wagner Free Institute of Science, and a mentor for the Women of Fells program at the University of Pennsylvania. I don't think she has time to sleep. Her impressive career, deep commitment to her community, and dedication and advocacy in her work with diversity, equity, and inclusion exemplifies the school's motto of Live and Serve. North Shore Country Day School is so very proudly presenting today the 2020 Francis R. Stanton Alumni Recognition to Karen Spencer Kelly. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. I am so honored to have been selected for the Francis R. Stanton Award. It was totally unexpected and is so deeply appreciated. Our motto, Live and Serve, is simple, but it is not necessarily easy. We all live, serving is a learned behavior. And thanks to my 13 years at North Shore, I learned a lot about serving. The school gave me myriad ways to be of service to my classmates, my schoolmates, and the world around us. Whether I was running the Girls Athletic Project Association or captaining the basketball team, I was trying to help the communal NSCDS effort. North Shore started me on my path of service at a young age and provided me with ample opportunities to be of aid. Not only did North Shore give me chances to help, it gave me examples of what service looked like and whom to emulate. Francis Stanton was such an example. His devotion and dedication to North Shore was unparalleled. As Nancy Whiteman recently said, Franny Stanton was in an alumni office before one existed. My favorite memory of him is walking from the tennis courts to the upper school after coaching. He looked focused but relaxed with his sweater over his shoulders, a fixture in the school, whether in athletics or in the boardroom. It was that kind of presence that was inspiring, that willingness to devote his time and talent to others in such a major but modest way. I also found examples of service in the upper school class members as I was winding my way through the lower grades. Because North Shore was such an intimate institution, I could observe the older students engaging in service projects. And because I was a little sister, I wanted to emulate the big kids, another advantage of the family nature of the school. Good habits were imitated and good practices often taken to the next level. North Shore is on the right path in terms of guiding its students to an ongoing course of service. For example, we know that a life of service often begins when children are given the opportunity to participate in service projects when they are young. I just learned yesterday from the second graders that not only do they perform various forms of public service with their families, they will also have a class-wide service project this year. I also learned that the middle school has a week of dedicated service, another important development since my time at school. And all you have to do is go to the NSCD website to see examples of the wide variety of projects in which the upper schoolers are involved. Such activity becomes part of the fabric of a North Shore education, one that moves with the students through their tenure here and beyond. I believe that tone of living service that was set at North Shore flowed seamlessly into my college experience. By the time I got to college, thanks to North Shore, being an active part of my community was as natural as attending class or studying. As an undergraduate, I quickly was involved in student government and joined various freshman committees. I could not imagine my academic life without some service role. But the Live and Serve motto did not expire with my formal education. As a matter of fact, my service horizons only broadened as I got older and dug into my communities, both local and alumni. I became passionately involved in my collegiate alma mater's alumni activity. That resulted in my serving on several boards of trustees, which consequently involved me in other nonprofit boards and institutions, several of which I serve on today. I do need to make another important point. Besides the hopefully good work that I do in my service life, a serendipitous byproduct is that I also benefit personally from the experiences and relationships that flourished from my efforts. My primary goal is to do something positive for my community, locally, nationally, or globally. But inevitably, I wind up with a tangible, positive result that improves my life. A relationship, a friendship, some knowledge, a new skill, the list goes on, which is another way that North Shore's influence continues to improve my life. Our dear school taught me to live in such a way that benefits more. The live and serve urging is circular and complete. As the old karmic saying states, what goes around comes around. And in this case, it is good begetting good. So with that, I will end where I began, with deep appreciation for this profound honor from an institution that I love. Thank you, North Shore, and thank all of you.
Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you for your words. Thank you for all that you do to embody, live, and serve. Just having some time yesterday to chat with Karen, and I know for our students who had the opportunity across several divisions to speak with her, I know they came away, as I did, inspired by your work and by all that you represent of the best of a North Shore education. So we're very grateful and we're very honored that you have accepted the Stanton Alumni recognition. And we look forward sometime soon, we hope, to having you back on campus rather than just on Zoom. But thank you for spending almost your entire day yesterday on Zoom with students from lower, middle, and upper school, as well as faculty, staff, and administrators. So that is about the end of our presentation. What I do want you to know, though, is that homecoming is not over. We have a cornucopia of events later today, particularly over Zoom. Some are for particular classes who are celebrating their reunion years. I want to particularly mention the class of 1970 that's celebrating its 50th reunion this year. We wish we were with you, and we look forward to seeing you all soon. And if you'd like to join in some of the events later today, please go to the website, nscds.org/alumni. There is a homecoming page that includes things such as a walking tour of the campus, which you can do virtually. It includes a link to the Centennial History book, if you'd be interested in purchasing that. And it has Zoom information for the reunion events and gatherings that are happening over the course of this afternoon and this evening. So in closing, I want to say thank you. If you were as inspired as I was and as I am every day by our students that you heard from, it is because of your support. It's because we stand on the shoulders of all of you who came before to help build this beautiful, wonderful, powerful education and school. So I want to say thank you for your support through annual giving, through donations of time and treasure and talent. You have helped to create the world that our students are happily enjoying and thriving in, even in this crazy time. So I hope to see you again on campus sometime soon. And until that time, go Raiders and happy homecoming. Thank you.